MSU also continued its quest to be an inclusive leader. They accepted the first class of Bear Power students, established the Facing Racism Institute, and were one of 2 universities selected to host the Dungy Leadership Institute. We also welcomed a new chancellor to West Plains. It's also nice to call this place home because of a commitment to sustainability. On the field, our student athletes shined. Championships in baseball, men's and women's soccer, women's golf, men's and women's swimming and diving, women's tennis, and volleyball resulted in our Missouri Valley Conference All-Sports Trophy. The NBA said yes to Alize Johnson, who became the first Bear drafted into the league since 1987. Lily Johnson finished one of the best careers in school history with her 4th All-American season, a first at Missouri State. The baseball Bears continued their run of success with 3 drafted players: Jeremy Eierman, Dylan Coleman, and Hunter Steinmetz. A new head basketball coach has Bears fans excited for what's next at JQH Arena.
I'll see you guys later. In short, that's what's new at MSU. What's next? We can't wait to find out.
Good morning, distinguished teachers, speakers, and honored guests. It is a true pleasure to welcome you to the 24th International Convention of English Teachers. This year, BETA celebrates 24 years of work, offering professional development, integrating skills through workshops, regional-wide conventions, and national conventions with international presenters. It is very pleased to say that the convention has 60 expert speakers in ELT, in order to give participants the opportunity to share knowledge, experiences, and abilities, and also to promote the professional's development through trainings. It is an honor for BETA to welcome the speakers, who are always willing to share all their knowledge with you, teachers, giving the opportunity to expand your minds. It is also an honor to welcome these Bolivian teachers that support the association with their active participation, that led BETA to continue this hard working. I'm especially honored to welcome the presidents of each teachers association around Bolivia, the headmaster of language career at Gabriel René Moreno University, Ms. María Juani Villarruel, the Vice Director of Graduated Courses and Continuing Education of Aquinos University, Mr. Cristian Torres, the representative from the Santa Cruz Departmental Government, Engineer Erlan Solis, and Mr. Anderson Soria. Thank you for being here today. But all of this wouldn't be possible without the sponsors. Thank you so much for your support. Please give them a strong applause. Now, we are going to listen to Ms. Isela Coronado, the BETA president.
Hello, good morning. Now I'm in a formal way. Ladies and gentlemen, and honored guests, it is my privilege and honor on behalf of the Bolivian English Teacher Associations to welcome you here today. We are delighted to have you with us to participate in our 24 international conventions for English teachers. Thank you for coming. The fact that many of you have traveled long distances to attend serve as a member and remind to us all just how important our work is and how committed we are to our work and educational itself. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the representatives of the municipal government and the subalcalde, the Distrito Municipal 1 Santa Cruz. A special welcoming to my fellow presidents of the other teachers' associations who are sitting on the other side. I know, Blanca, Edith, Maria Elba. I would like to express my gratitude and a warm welcoming to our plenary and future speakers, as well as the presenters, especially those who are coming from overseas. Few of them are based in Bolivia, and several experts in ELT came from other countries in South and Central America and Europe who are in front of me. Please, could you give an applause? Please, if you can stand up so they can know you. We also express our heartfelt thank you to all our sponsors of this year's conference. Their support and contributions are important, not only in making the conference happen, but also in helping Beta to become a vehicle for positive change in ELT in the 21st century and beyond. Please, La Hoguera, Richmond, Pearson, Macmillan, May, El Pauro, could you stand up, please, all my sponsors? Thank you. We hope that this conference generates lively discussions, as well as raise more questions about how we can go about ELT in our classrooms. On behalf of Beta, I would like to declare that the 24 National Conventions for Teachers of English is now open. Okay, thank you. And really exciting. Thank you for coming. This is really important for the Bolivian English Teacher Association, so we really appreciate what are you doing in this place, in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Isela. Now, we invite Mr. Cristian Torres, the Vice Director of Graduated Courses and Continuing Education of Aquinas University.
Hello. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that this event is being broadcasted by Facebook Live. So if you want your friends and colleagues or anybody else watch the event, you can just log into Udavo's fan page at Facebook, and they will be seeing all of you guys plus all the presenters throughout these 3 days. Well, my name is Cristian Torres, and as our colleague said, I'm the Vice Dean of Postgraduate Studies and Continuous Education here at the university. I'm here in representation of the president of the institution, Mr. Martin Dugweiler, the National Dean of the university, and the Academic Council, of course. And I want to welcome all of you to the auditorium, Martin Cárdenas, the auditorium of our House of Studies, Universidad de Quito, Bolivia. But I'm also here as CEM, Center Examinations Manager of Cambridge Assessment English, and Examination Training Center for TOEFL IBT. And well, as you may have seen some videos of MSU, we're doing some great things with MSU this year. We're launching 4 careers, undergrad careers, and 1 master's degree with dual certification of both MSU, Missouri State University, and Udavoll. And the good thing is that these careers will all be bilingual, so they will be taught in English. This is for all students who actually are graduating from your schools and are bilingual, and they want to follow their studies, continue their studies in English without leaving the country. So this will be launched in August, and it's going to be something very interesting, but that's not why we are here, and let's just continue with this. So you see, both me as a former English teacher. I started my career in academics more than 20 years ago, teaching at Centro Bolivariano Americano here, there in La Paz. So my heart is always with English teachers. So for me and for the university, it's a very, very, very big pleasure to have you all here gathered. We want to congratulate Isela for all the excellent work she's done to get this together. We've been coordinated, and we've seen her passion in organizing this event for you guys. We see a very big bunch of great speakers, so I'm sure you will be having the best of time. Second language acquisition, second language learning and development of competencies in second language is very important for the university. All our students at the university, the 30 careers that we have in Técnico Superior and undergrad that lead to licenciatura here at the university are bilingual. This means that all students have to take English studies up to a B2 level that provides them the tools to actually handle the language adequately. Moreover, they are requested to pass a B2 examination, Cambridge first certificate, to graduate. So that shows that our university is the first one who is really, really committed on this, but we want all of them to be as committed, to take English seriously and to take English certification seriously, because that's the way we can really prove that we handle something adequately, right? So later today, I think at 3, we'll be sharing a lot more about what Cambridge is in Bolivia and the advantages that it has both for your students and for you. But right now, I think the most important thing is for you to welcome you to this event. I hope you have the best time. We've said we're trying to provide this beautiful auditorium for you, our classrooms, all our equipments, technology, so that you can have a great, great experience. So please, from now on, consider Udable, this university, your home, and we are glad to have you here, and we wish you have the best experience in this Congress. God bless you all, and have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Christian. Now it is time to enjoy an artistic presentation. Give them a big round of applause, please.
de sure, vientos y arena, de calor, humedad y amor. Tu perfume embriaga a cualquiera, Santa Cruz, tierra de ensueño, de mujeres hermosa y altiva, gloriosa como si sola. y tan bellas como ninguna. Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz, siempre estaremos con vos, ayer, hoy y mañana. Viva nuestro Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz, siempre estaremos con vos, ayer, hoy y mañana. Viva nuestro Santa Cruz.
Pandinita hermosa, tú eres mi único querer, por eso no te puedo olvidar. Muchachita de alma noroestal, es mi tierra un paisaje de bello color. Tiene inmensa selva donde ruge el jaguar, tiene sus palmeras de belleza tropical. Querida tierra sin par, morena mi amor, bañada de sol. Por eso yo te quiero, ay pandinita de mi corazón. Brindo esta canción a mi suelo natal y con mucha alegría ayudadme a decir viva Pando mi amor.
Así se baila con el trío oriental. ¡Vas a matar, carajo!
Andas diciendo que te marcharás, quieres volar a otros cielos alay. No te preocupes, ya te puedes ir, pero recuerda tu infamia Salay. Tanto dolor que me causa tu amor, tanto cariño desprecias Salay. Jamás te olvides de mi cariño, no te equivoques de rumbo Salay. Si te vas golondrina fugaz, en mi vida también morirás. Los que mueren no vuelven jamás, y aunque llores jamás volverás. Si te vas golondrina fugaz, en mi vida también morirás. Los que mueren no vuelven jamás, y aunque llores jamás volverás. Que viene volveré a bailar por ti. Al año que viene volveré a soñar por ti. Suenan las matracas de este pobre corazón. La morenita idilio de mi amor, regresarás, morenita bella flor, te esperaré, tesorito de mi amor, regresarás, morenita bella flor, te esperaré, tesorito de mi amor. Bailando barracudas.
Me llaman a mí por robar tu corazón. Bailando con la Ferro mi alma le entregó a la Virgen del Socavón.
Si el pecho de cristal fuera, se vieran los corazones, no hubiera falsas caricias, ni se usarán las traiciones. Si el pecho de cristal fuera, se vieran los corazones, no hubiera falsas caricias, ni se usarán las traiciones. Pa' mí, pa' dos palos, dos palos, dos palos, dos. Pa' mí, pa' dos palos, dos palos, dos palos, dos. Pa' mí, pa' dos palos, dos palos, dos palos, dos.
Que canta y baila, soy de la tierra ancestral. Soy de la tierra que canta y baila, soy de la tierra ancestral. Llevo en mi pecho fulgor de estrellas, ritmo y sangre nacional. Llevo en mi pecho fulgor de estrellas, ritmo y sangre nacional. Canta mi pueblo, canta mi gente, Bolivia tierra sin par. Igual que el viento, canta los Andes, Bolivia tú eres mi hogar. Canta mi gente, Bolivia tierra sin par. Igual que el viento, canta los Andes, Bolivia tú eres mi hogar. Ay, bella Bolivia.
This was a terrific artistic presentation that represents each one of the 9 cities of Bolivia. Let's give them a big applause again. Now, the open ceremony is over, but you have to stay here for the first plenary of our international convention. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. We invite Ms. Luciana de Oliveira. She is a professor and chair in the Department of Teacher and Learning in the School of Education and Human Development at the University of Miami, Florida. Her research focuses on issues related to teaching English language learners at the K-12 levels. So please, let's give her a big applause.
Buenos dias. Thank you for having me and for inviting me, Isela, to come to this. I'm just going to wait for my PowerPoint show up on the screen. This is my first time in Bolivia. I'm actually originally from Brazil, your neighbor. And I've lived in the US for about, well, almost 22 years. Half my life in Brazil, half my life in the US. So whenever we're ready for the PowerPoint, there it is. Okay, so my topic for today is a genre-based approach to teaching writing. So I work with a lot of teachers who are teaching at the elementary school level and at the secondary level in the US, and this is something that I have done with them. I have helped them apply in their own classrooms, and it is also the topic of my research. And this is me. I'm a professor in the Department of Teaching and Learning at the University of Miami, and I'm also the president of TESOL International Association. Beta is an affiliate of TESOL International Association. TESOL is the major international organization for English language teachers around the world. We're very international. We have many members from all over the world. We're about 1,000 members all over the world, and I'm the first Latin American president of TESOL in 53 years. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud to be here with you. The clicker is not working. So It is on, but it's not working. Ah, it would help if, you know. Okay, that's fine. I don't like to be up there. I like to be here with you all, but apparently I have to, so that's fine. Okay, there you go. That works better. So I have two main goals. I'm going to describe a genre-based approach to teaching writing and to show how we can implement this approach across instructional levels. I have some examples from an elementary classroom that I've been working with, and I ask that we stop the Facebook feed right now because I do not have permission to show the world, and I am using copyrighted material here in my presentation. So if you could stop the Facebook feed, could you stop the Facebook feed right now? Okay, perfect, thank you. Because I am using copyrighted material, so you're welcome to take some pictures, but no recording, please. I do this a lot in different countries and in different states in the US, so perfect. Awesome, thank you so much. Because that was said in the morning and I just wanted to make sure. But you feel free to take some pictures of the PowerPoint. I have no problem with that. All right, so I'm starting with a definition, quick definition of what we mean by genre. Maybe some of you already heard that word before, but I'm using the definition from Martin and Rose, and they talk about genres as staged, goal-oriented social processes. Staged because it usually takes us more than one step to reach our goals. Goal-oriented because we feel frustrated if we don't accomplish the final steps. And social because writers shape their texts for readers of particular kinds. So we always, when we write, we have to write with a specific purpose in mind and for a specific audience. And so this approach really focuses on those aspects of writing. So a little bit more. So for a social purpose, for example, we can have the purpose to tell stories, to give information, to give instructions, and to persuade, okay? There are also different stages that we go through in teaching through genres. Those are steps to achieve our goals. They have different functions that contribute to the overall purpose. Different genres have different stages, and we go beyond calling those different stages introduction, body, and conclusion. We go beyond that, okay, because that's not very functional for the purposes that we have. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So what we use to teach genre, to apply this in the classroom, is what we call the teaching and learning cycle. And the teaching and learning cycle starts with detailed reading or building content knowledge of the topic. And we can focus on 3 key areas, okay? And this can be with any text that you work with your students, okay? When we talk and when we write, we're always talking about some kind of content. We always have some kind of interpretation or building relationships with the audience, right? And also, we organize our information. And this is whenever we speak or write. So for content, there are specific questions that we can ask. For example, what is happening? Who are the people and things involved? What are the circumstances surrounding events? For interpretation or building of relationships, we can have what are the roles and relationships taken up by the different participants in this text. And then lastly, organization. How's the text organized and structured, and how is the language used? And we have several tools for looking at those 3 key areas when we're reading. Okay, so I don't have enough time to go more in depth into that, but several of my books address that, and I'll give you the references at the end. But this is the teaching and learning cycle. So we start with what we call text deconstruction, and unfortunately the clicker doesn't work here, but the text deconstruction or modeling. We are teaching our students about the language of the text. So they're learning about the language of the text. And I'll show you an example of that. Joint construction or guided practice is the teacher and students building a text together as a class. Okay? A lot of times when we ask students to write, we just give them a prompt and then they write. This is very different from that kind of approach. Okay? This is very much what we call scaffolded. Okay? With steps, with the teacher taking a key role. I am really tired of teachers being facilitators. We're not facilitators. We have a real role in the classroom. And we have the knowledge base to really teach our students to write. If you just give them a prompt and have them write, they may be very differential, they may be prepared very differently for the writing task that you're asking them to do. So, for example, one of the things that some teachers may ask is for students to tell them about their summer vacation. Okay? So that's a very personal topic. Summer vacation. Let's say my friend Susan here, she was able to go to Hawaii to visit family there. How exciting, so cool. But my friend Holly had to stay home in Texas because she had to help her family in, let's say, her farm. I don't know, I'm making this up, okay? So she didn't have the same kinds of experiences that my friend Susan had, right? Or my student Susan had. So the kinds of things they're going to be writing about are very different. So I find that problematic. Okay? So this approach has as a principle a common experience for all of the students. And writing about a common experience also together as a class, as part of joint construction. Do you see what I mean? It's a very democratic approach. Okay? Collaborative construction is what we call shared practice. You can have students discuss and write together in groups. And then, only then, you have the independent construction when students write on their own. If you just ask students to write on their own, like right here, which is usually what the process writing approach asks us to do, you are not really teaching writing, are you? You're assessing writing. Because if students, like let's say my two students, Susan and Holly here, with the experience of summer vacation, they're going to be just writing about what they know, but they're not really being prepared for that writing task. So what we do with the teaching and learning cycle is we really help students understand the kind of writing they're going to do by focusing on the text deconstruction. We also then write together as a class. They can write collaboratively and then on their own. And sometimes you can skip the collaborative and go to the independent, or skip the independent and just do the collaborative. But what you cannot skip is those two, if you're introducing a specific genre. And I'll give you some examples of that. Now I'm going to go through each one of those phases. And we want to be multimodal, right? Using our body language, using text, using videos, using all kinds of resources, pictures, etc. So in terms of implementation, The principle that we apply is what we call guidance through interaction in the context of shared experiences. So let's repeat that. Guidance through interaction in the context of shared experiences. Excellent. So what does that mean? That means the guidance piece is when the teacher is really working with the students through interaction, because the teacher is interacting with the students. It's something that is common. It's a common practice within the classroom. In the context of shared experiences, the summer vacation, there was no shared experience, right? One went to Hawaii, one stayed home. No shared experience. Shared experience would be, we're reading a book together, we're watching a video together, we're talking about the life cycle of a butterfly, right? So you can use this in any content area. You can use this to teach Spanish, other indigenous languages, anything, but you're teaching them to write, okay? Focus on what students need. We also develop their content knowledge through the shared experience. There's explicit and guided instruction by the teacher. And we can talk about genre differences in different content areas. So when you teach science, when you teach English, when you teach Spanish. And the role of the teacher here is instrumental, is really, really key. Okay, so for text deconstruction, remember it's modeling. You can ask, what is the purpose of the text? What are the stages to this genre? What are the language features? You are developing students' familiarity with the genre, introducing a mentor text, discussing purpose, identifying how the text is structured in stages, and discussing the function of each stage. You can talk about target vocabulary, or what we call code breaking. It's more than vocabulary. You can talk about grammar, you can talk about the language. You will talk about social purpose, place, audience, and topic, different grammatical choices, genre-specific language, and you can use graphic organizers to help you with the teaching. For joint construction, you are writing a new text in the same genre as a class. So the teacher and students. So for preparation, you have movie, a specific reading, a science textbook. Can be many, many things. So you're building students' knowledge about the topic of the text through discussion, group work, research, or other class activities. The teacher is scribing, but everyone is writing. But the teacher is the one who's scribing. Do you see the difference? The students are learning. They can write themselves too, but everybody is writing together. So it's a whole class activity. Okay, that's really critical. Students brainstorm ideas in groups so they can contribute, right? The teacher's in front of the class guiding the writing, and we're writing together. So the teacher provides structure and support, full sentences, vocabulary, academic language, transitions. You can talk about register, all of that. And I put a star right here because this, I think, is what is missing a lot in our teaching of writing. Okay, is the joint construction or this guided practice. Then here I put independent construction, but you can do this in groups as well. So you have the independent practice, writing a new text in the same genre by the students. So the preparation could be generating ideas, there are note-taking, brainstorming, consulting the text deconstruction and the joint construction. Here it's the individual writing, This is where you have your drafts. You have drafts, you have teacher feedback, editing and revising, some kind of evaluation, and further exploration of the genre. You have a common experience again, graphic organizer, language negotiation. So when students are working in groups, they can negotiate with each other. Here's where we apply the writing process with the drafts, and scaffolding as needed, providing this temporary support that our students may need. So I'm going to talk and submitted that. We had 2 research questions. Don't worry, I'm going to go really quick on this, okay? First, I have this framework that's called a language-based approach to content instruction. Some of you may have heard me before, especially those of you who have known me for a little while. So it's basically working with language in content classrooms. So let's say that a 4th grade classroom and they're teaching science. And there are no ESL or bilingual specialists working with the teacher. So I provide some support for them to work with their bilingual students. So this was one of the questions that we had. But the main one is the one up top. What is the nature of a 1st grade teacher's guidance through interaction in the context of a shared experience? Look at that. It's the principle that we talked about. So I'm going to show you some examples of this classroom. And because I'm here and not there, can somebody bring my bottle of water? Thank you. And my fan also? Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Right here. All right. So, very quickly, the context was a 1st grade classroom in Florida. It was an elementary school. Miss Cabana is the teacher. She had 23 1st grade students, and you can see the students there. Here are our data sources. And we focused on classroom instruction, guided by Lacey's 6 C's of support, and application of the teaching and learning cycle. We used what we call design-based research. So basically, we started with what we call analysis phase, meeting with the teacher to discuss the focus, jointly deciding on writing in English language arts, and English language arts lesson observation. So that's basically when you focus on teaching English. Okay, but not everybody in the classroom is bilingual, so a lot of students are bilingual. It's about half of the class bilingual, and half the class not. Then there was the design phase, which is when we designed the lessons with the teacher, with Ms. Cabana. There was also the implementation phase, which was lesson delivery by the teacher, classroom observations, discussions with the teacher, and analysis of student work. Then the redesign phase, which was refining and designing new lessons. So I worked a lot with the teacher on what it was that she was going to do in the classroom in application of the teaching and learning cycle. We used this book. It's called Last Stop on Market Street. It's a book about a boy named CJ, and he takes a bus to go to a soup kitchen, basically to provide food for people who don't have a lot. So it talks a lot about helping the community and all of those things. It's a great book. So to start, for detailed reading and setting the context, Ms. Cabana asked students about their personal experiences related to visiting family members. Okay, so they had a discussion about that. Has anyone gone away to visit a family member? So they discussed those things. She introduced the focal text with a picture walk. Know what a picture walk is? Just looking at the pictures and not the text. So just going through the book and making predictions and those sorts of things. I want everyone to look at the cover of Last Stop on Market Street. And I want you to notice all the details that you see in this cover. I want you to think, what is going on in this picture? So she started with the cover and then went through the book. With detailed reading, students completed a graphic organizer and discussed it, exploring the image-text relationships throughout the story to better understand how the boy, CJ's feelings, changed as the story progressed. And this is an example of with Carolina. So Carolina, do you want to share the action that you found? CJ pushed Nana out of the bus. In this illustration, who's coming out of the bus first? And the next student says CJ, and Nana behind him. So we know from the next picture that he's pulling his Nana. If you're pulling someone and telling someone to come with you, what does that say? That he's happy. That you're happy and you want to get somewhere fast. Where is it that he wants to get to? To the soup kitchen. To the soup kitchen. So that is an action that they didn't tell us, but they showed it to us on the picture. So basically, we're exploring the picture. Okay? So for the deconstruction piece of the teaching and learning cycle, so Ms. Cabana and me and my research team, we worked on this text here. Oh, this is so much cooler. I'm going to stay right here. So we worked on this text that told us the events of the story, and this is what we call a narrative recount. Okay, so it's a narrative recount because you're recounting the events of the story. Okay? So we start with some kind of beginning, right? Here is kind of like CJ had a busy day on Sunday. Do I have the text here? No. And then it talks about all the different events. Not all of them, but some of the key ones. Okay? And then it ends with some kind of closure. So what happened was Ms. Cabana displayed, this is what we call a mentor text, right? Because it's going to serve as a mentor, as a model for what students are going to do. That provided a recount of the main events of the story, as I said. The class read the text out loud together, and Ms. Cabana guided students through the deconstruction process. So here's what she did. So after reviewing the entire text, she completed 2 iterations of deconstruction, focusing on different areas for each iteration. And remember, this is first grade. Okay, first grade, very beginning. So they're still developing their literacy skills. So CJ had a busy day on Sunday. So she talked about, you know, how that's the topic sentence or the hook starting the paragraph, right? This is only a paragraph, but that's okay. You can do this with a paragraph or longer texts, okay? Then she talked about how the text was organized. Because this is a recount, they used things like first, next, then. So they had a great conversation about all the different ways that were used here to organize the text. So things like, they didn't highlight it here, but I know they talked about it because I just heard the recordings this last week. So things like after, you can't see, but maybe there's a better. So then is used, soon after, okay? So all of the different ways, not just first, second, third, right? There are many different ways you can organize a recount. So she went over them with the students, okay? This is really important with the teaching of genre because you're focusing on different aspects of the text with the class. So the teacher was in front of the class, and everybody was having a discussion about this recount, okay? So first they focused on topic, sentence, and transitions, and then they focused on a very important area that's in our standards in Florida, that's common and proper nouns. So you can blend the genre-based approach with maybe a more traditional focus on language. She also included what we are calling bridging reading to writing. So that's an additional phase of the teaching and learning cycle. So she asked students to write a narrative recount to identify the different events of the story. Okay? Students share their writing with the class. Ms. Cabana asked the students to provide feedback to their peers by saying something they liked, asking one question, and offering one suggestion. She felt it was really important to remind them of the different events in the story, because she felt that just going from the deconstruction to the joint construction was not enough, so she wanted to work a little bit more on the book. And so that's why she added this phase. Then they focused on joint construction. But actually before this, think about the shared experience, right? Remember I told you that it's really important to have a shared experience? So she asked the students what they would like to do as a class to help the community. Okay, so they thought about maybe going to pick up trash at the beach. We're in Florida, there's a lot of trash, a lot of tourists, unfortunately, at the beach that leave trash behind. So they discussed that possibility. They also talked about maybe doing some Thanksgiving baskets to help the community, just like CJ went to the soup kitchen to help, to provide food. They decided to collect food from all of the first grades and make Thanksgiving baskets to help the community. And there's one place in Florida that helps with that as well. So the class brainstormed ideas. They decided to collect food items for Thanksgiving baskets. And Ms. Cabana and the students wrote a letter to the principal to explain the project. So here's the letter. Now, remember that, well, I didn't say this, but I should have. A genre is different than a format, okay? The topic here is helping the community. The genre is a narrative recount, but it's in the format of a letter to the principal. Let's think about an email, okay? An email is a format, okay? We could have different purposes for writing an email. I can email my friend Dorothy, whom I hadn't seen in a while, and I can tell her all the things that I've done for the past 2 months. So that will be a narrative recount, okay? And I can do this in an email. I can also, let's say, email let's say that Joseph is my boss, okay? And I'm going to try to convince him that I should get a raise, okay? That I did all these things. I'll start with an email to him, okay? What very different purposes, right? It's still an email. The format is an email, but the genres and the purposes are very different. Because then I'm going to try to convince him to give me a raise, okay? So that will be more an argument genre, right? Versus a narrative recount that I wrote to my friend Dorothy, right? Does that make sense? Format and genre? Yeah? All right, so they wrote a letter to the principal, and they started, I actually have the letter in the next one. So this independent construction, they skipped for this particular unit. But let me show you the joint construction. Do you know what our class is doing? We're helping the community. First, we thought about ways to help the community. Then, next, we decided to collect food to make Thanksgiving baskets to give to the people that need it. Last, we made posters to tell the other first graders to give food for our baskets. We're excited to help people in our community. So this was what we talked about as joint construction. So the teacher was in front of the class, and everybody was providing ideas for her, okay? And she was writing as everybody was providing ideas, okay? That's what we mean by joint construction. Okay, so now we have an activity. I don't know how it's going to work out because I don't have a computer here. But we'll see. We'll try it out. We're going to read